Williams Road to Glory, Baku. Let's jump into it. We kick things off with the weather forecast, and it's dry all weekend here at Baku, which is great news for us. We then move into the progression chart, and you can see we have got 3 upgrades on the car, and we've taken a massive step into the midfield pack of F1 now. So we've kind of left Alfa Romeo and Haas behind, and we've now taken a big step forward in terms of performance, which I'm very much excited about. And with that, we now jump into Friday practice. Now in this session, I was using my original power unit. We've yet to change any components, but we are going to change them this event for qualifying. So this will be the last session with component number 1, of all of the different parts of the engine. Now, one thing I want to mention before we jump into qualifying is you'll get to see right now the engine wear, and you see the turbocharger 70%, the Tronic 69, I think I can tell from my preview screen, and just in general a bit of engine wear going on. So yeah, we're gonna take an engine change. First of all though, after practice you can see we look at the summary of the practice session, and we scored 800 points once again, and then no changes to the driver acclaim. Now before we jump into the qualifying session, we are going to go ahead and make that plan change and put component number 2 or part number 2 of the separate components into the car, and we can now jump into qualifying. Now for this session guys, you'll notice at the end with the results, I've managed to run a brand new mod, which I'll leave linked down below guys, but it gives you the ability to change the names very easily now within the F1 game, which has been something we've been sorely lacking for a long time. So every single team now has the accurate name that it should have, so you'll see that shortly. But first of all, Q1. Now you saw just a moment ago I ran very wide and very deep into turn 2. Then a couple of corners later I made an absolute mess of the hairpin here before the castle section, and then a couple of corners after that, this left-hander right here, yeah, a nice hit with the ball. Not ideal and not the best start to qualifying. We went on to finish the lap anyway, even with ring damage, and we still went faster than Matsushita, so we weren't slowest, we weren't last, but there we go, our first lap done, and it was just a banker. We then move on to the end of my second lap, this time fresh set of tyres, and trying to be a bit more sharper and not make so many mistakes. And you can see here this time 1.3 seconds up, a much better lap from us, and running up to the line is going to take us from P20 all the way up to P11 I believe. So yeah, there we go, job done for Q1. We're out of the elimination zone. In the process we actually ended up eliminating George Russell, and you can see right now all the names on screen of all the teams that we've changed, so everything is fully up to date. But we now move into qualifying 2, and we've got 2 fresh sets of soft tyres to use for this session. This was my first lap, a 37.2. Not a great banker, not terrible but not great. We go P11 ahead of Carlos Sainz, behind Charles Leclerc. We then cut onto my second lap. You can see here so far I'm down on my previous best, but now through the castle section and the hairpin just before, I found a lot of time, and once we got to the exit of the castle section we was actually 3/10 up, so a really good section there, finding a lot of lap time and just a big improvement overall. We then make our way towards the end of sector 2 into this next left-hander, where of course we crashed in Q1. This time taking it much nicer out of there, getting a great exit, finding an extra 10th, and now into the last brake zone here, purple middle sector, as we get back on the gas and make our way onto the kind of long back straight. Even though there's a chicane here, it's all flat, so for me it's basically all a straight, and we're now going to wait for the DRS, and looks like we are going to improve by about 5.5 tenths as we then open the DRS now, keeping the car to the left for the shortest run to the line. Currently P14. Will we get out of Q2? Yes, we will, and it's P6 for us. And to be fair, it was an extremely close Q2 session. We look at the final results, so you can see the gap from Bottas, who is in P5, down to Stroll and Ocon, for example, Vettel as well, Albon. Everyone's really close together, so that lap was key, and we managed to get through. So yeah, job done for us in Q2, and we move into Q3. So again, the car improvements, the upgrades working well, combined with the fresh engine, we've got some good pace. And this was my first lap in Q3. We set a 36.8, which is decent enough, pretty close to my Q2 time, but that lap was on a set of used tyres, so there's more time to find, and this was my final attempt in Q3. So let's go for a full lap of Baku on fresh soft tyres. Here we go, running up to the line, and it's going to be a 0.4 of a second improvement. It's a big lap at the end of qualifying, and we go P6. It wasn't perfect. There was probably a tad more time in there. I think we could have maybe got Ricciardo, maybe even Perez, but you know, that would have been pushing it. So yeah, P6 for us, third row of the grid. I'll happily take that, starting alongside Ricciardo in the Renault Alpine. Both AlphaTauris behind us, and Mercedes out front with a 1-2. So yeah, overall I'll take that. Verstappen, championship leader in P3, so he's not out front, and it's going to be an exciting race. I feel like we've got some good pace. Our straight line speed is absolutely insane, and I'm really excited about this. Even though Baku is not one of my favourite tracks, we seem to have a good car underneath us. After qualifying, Verstappen does outscore us in the rivalry, and we make some very small gains in terms of driver acclaim, and we still lead the rivalry. So happy days all round, and we can now move into the race here for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Baku.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully away from the barriers. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Now we probably ought to start by discussing Sebastian Vettel. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Martinez, and Gasly, Kvyat, Stroll, Norris and Alexander Albon, Leclerc, Perez. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Carlos Sainz and Russell, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Nobuharu Matsushita and Esteban Ocon. Vettel and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Here we are then for the race at Baku. We start from P5 on the grid, and we benefit from a grid penalty, of course, to somebody else, and we are right up the sharp end and in the mix here today. So I feel pretty confident we can actually have a strong race and potentially score some decent points. Now, in terms of the strategy, I feel like the game does not want me to do a one-stop, but that is what I'm going to try and attempt. So essentially, we're going to go for the soft tyres that we start on, of course, from Q2, and we're going to switch to the hard compound tyre and take it to the end. Now, apparently, I can't do this strategy right here, but that's what I'm going to try and go for. The Plan B option strategy is going to be a soft, medium, soft, but I don't think that's the way we're going to go. Fuel-wise, we're going to go 0.8, not super heavy, but a little bit in the reserve just in case. And in terms of weather forecast, no rain expected. So it's going to be quite straightforward in terms of strategy. It's all about making sure we try and make the one-stop work. So we have to go a bit longer on the soft tyres, then I'm willing to take that risk. So let's jump into it. Let's see how the race goes, and let's see if we can score more points here in Baku and keep our point streak alive of scoring points in every single race this season. Okay, here we go. Race start, RPM, in the sweet spot, and away we go. Quick 5 lights, bit of wheel spin though in the second phase, which isn't good for us. That's going to allow the AlphaTauri to have a look. We're going to try and go around the outside of 1, and look at that, lovely recovery as we actually end up making a move on Ricciardo, who's actually going back up the inside here. At turn 2, we're going to carry the speed around the outside though, and get ahead. So up into P4 for us, jumping Daniel Ricciardo there. Meanwhile, Verstappen up into P2. Splitting the Mercedes cars. So Hamilton leads, Verstappen second, of course, the championship leader, and Valtteri Bottas P3. So it's the top 4 in the championship in the top 4 positions here already on lap 1. So this is going to be a spicy race. We're going to see if I actually have the pace to keep up with these 3 ahead of us, because obviously the first 2 laps the AI always run full power, so it's going to be a tricky one. But we'll see if we can make it work. If I can hang on to DRS by lap 3, then this could be a decent race for us. I thought that strategy could help us out a lot, but We'll see. It's a long way to go. I'm going to focus now, though, and see if I can work to stay within a second of Bottas, because you can see already they're trying to push and stretch away, and we don't want that. Meanwhile, I'm actually dropping Ricciardo, who's a second behind now, so this is good. Creating that separation to the midfield already. Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo are battling behind, and Ricciardo's actually dropping now, so he's been overtaken by Kvyat as well, so they've all dropped back a little bit. The gap has increased. Meanwhile, Hamilton racing away out front. He's pulling away from Verstappen. It feels like the Red Bull lacks a bit of pace at the moment. Looks like Valtteri's going to try and go for a move on Verstappen here. I'm going to use a bit of the ERS just to try and stay close. Verstappen almost forcing Bottas into the pit wall there as DRS is now enabled. I'm trying to see if I can close the gap and get within a second here so that I can get DRS in this back straight. I think I've done enough. Yes, I have. These two are still going side by side, which is great for us in terms of catching back up. Let's see what happens here though. Bottas is going to obviously try and go for this again on Verstappen. Look at this. We're just going to sit back and watch. But it does look like Bottas has got it done. It's close. Verstappen's a bit slow off the corner. We're going to try it and slip down the inside of the Dutchman. And there we go. We make that move. And up to P3. Very, very nice overtake. Just keeping it nice and tidy. Waiting for the right time to strike. And we make it work. So let's try and stick with Valtteri now. See if we can stay within a second. If we can, this will be decent for our race. Okay, Gasly passes Verstappen. So Max is way off the pace. Something is not right. Maybe he used all of his ERS trying to stay ahead of Valtteri. Didn't have the pace for it. But at the minute, we're chilling. I could get past Valtteri here, but I'm choosing not to. I'm going to let him drag me along. If I feel like I'm quicker, I'll make the move. We caught up to Hamilton quite a bit on that lap actually. We gained a bit. Gap now within 3 seconds. But Bottas doesn't feel super quick. I feel like I could go quicker than him. But I am starting to lose my rear tyres. I'm tempted to pass him, I really am. On the straights, I'm so much quicker. I'm an absolute cruise missile at VMAX, you know, top speed, end of the straight. But for now, this is working. We're staying ahead of Gasly and Verstappen behind, and we are slowly catching Lewis. I feel like I'm forcing Bottas to use his ERS as well, which is good. So there will come a point he's vulnerable. Now, the two options we have is pass him or wait until he pits. So we'll see whatever works best. Depends if I get a good exit out the final corner or not. That was nice through there. I got really close. Now I'm scheduled to pit this lap, but of course we're going to try and stretch this for a set of hard tyres, which, I mean, if I pit lap 8, that would be good. So let's see what Bottas does. I'm tempted to pass him anyway. Let's see. I'm going to close the gap. Engine temperatures look decent. Is Bottas going to pit? No, he stays out. Right, you know what? I'm going to go for this. A little bit of ERS there. Getting the run. Bottas moves at the last minute. Going to go around the outside though and get that one done. And we're past. Up into P2. As I believe Pierre Gasly pit for AlphaTauri, so he could be 2-stopping. Let's try and stay ahead of Bottas now as the tyre wear indicator appears on the screen, which means 60% on the right rear. So we'll have to watch out for that tyre, but let's see what kind of pace we have now in a bit of clean air. This has been a very strong lap. We've managed to drop Bottas out of DRS range. Hamilton's going to pit by the looks of it. We're going to start for one more lap, and we'll pit for the hard tyre and go to the end. So I'm going to get those hard tyres selected. There we go, Hamilton pits. Alright, let's push then. In lap time. Let's see if we've got any pace left in the car. Bit scruffy through turn 1 though. We're going to pit this lap. In lap was decent enough. We've kept the gap to Bottas. That's all that really matters. Going to drain the ERS a little bit as we push into the pit lane. Right, let's see if we can push this entry. Nice. There we go, that'll do. Very nice clean pit entry. And we'll stay ahead of Bottas unless an absolute disaster pit stop, which shouldn't really happen. Boxing for the hard tyre, we're going to go to the end of the race and that way achieve the one-stop strategy that we need. There we go, nice stop. Right, looks like majority of cars on the hard tyre by the looks of it. Where we rejoin just behind Hamilton. Hamilton on the hard, so we've got 1 lap fresher tyres than Lewis, but we seem to be a lot closer than when he pit actually, so we've actually gained time with the overcut. Seems like Lewis may have got through some traffic, so this is good. Meanwhile, Bottas has come out behind a bit of traffic, so that's worked out beautifully for us. The entire pit stop phase, we've benefited massively, catching one Mercedes and dropping the other. Let's see if we can get within a second of Hamilton here and try and stick with him for the rest of the race. These tyres feel absolutely horrible, I can't lie. I mean, the soft tyres weren't that bad. The actual front tyres were not worn at all, and I can really notice that, you know, there's no front grip on these tyres because they're not quick enough. You know, the soft tyres were actually fine. It was just the right rear that was going off. But the other 3 tyres, especially the front 2, were fine. And I can re-notice that. But anyway, luckily, I think we've just about got within Hamilton's DRS range here on the pit straight. So I should have DRS for the back straight here. Or not, actually. I might have just dropped out again. I think I have. Yeah, I've dropped out. So I'll try and see if I can get back in. We've got a bit of battling ahead between Sainz and Leclerc by the looks of it. Okay, looks like Hamilton's going to make a move on Sainz here. Seems like Carlos doesn't have much ERS. I think he was battling with Leclerc quite heavily, and he's lost out. So Hamilton's going to put a couple of cars between us and create some separation, which isn't good. So we need to get past these guys quickly and try and stick with Lewis. Don't let him get away. Unfortunately, I'm just a bit stuck right now. Hamilton's got past Leclerc. I just can't get past Sainz. On this last lap, I gained nothing on the straight at all. It seems like the McLaren with the Mercedes engine at full power is very, very fast, and I can't do much of a difference. And then obviously for the corners, I am struggling because ultimately we are in a Williams. But you'll see here, this is similar to the last lap. I was pretty close to Sainz, but I can't seem to make any progress. He gets a bit loose through the chicane though this time. I'm going to use the ERS, but I don't have a ton to use. Engine temperature a little bit higher, but look at this, we're same as last lap, we're just not really gaining on the McLaren here. He's going to go for a move on Leclerc. This should be interesting, but I'm really stuck in this battle right now. Oh, Leclerc moves in the brake zone. I have to take evasive action. That was scary. Very, very scary. I was coming in a bit hot, but I had it under control. That's my usual braking point. Look at this, Gasly though is catching up, and so is Verstappen. Alright, looks like we're stuck behind these guys for another lap. This ain't good. This time I'm using my ERS early, but it doesn't seem to be doing much of a difference. We've got Gasly behind now, and Verstappen's also catching up as well, so this ain't ideal. Russell pits though.
George is going in for his stop.
Sainz and Leclerc battling again. This time we're able to get the car slowed down. I was being very, very scared, and actually Gasly's going to get the run of me here. You can see when a car runs ERS, Gasly down the inside, makes the move, but we get him back around the outside. But this is really ruining my race now. We're losing so much time and pace. I'm using the ERS now. I'm going to try and see if I can get Leclerc here. Around the outside. Can we get it? Yes, we can. Okay, that was a big move. Absolutely crucial. Hopefully we'll get Sainz at the end of the lap, but now Leclerc can just, you know, cause trouble behind and allow me to pull away. Now this time Sainz does not have DRS. Obviously he's going to pit soon anyway, but I'm going to use this straight to kind of close up. He's still really fast though on straight, I've got to say. I'm trying to pass him on the next straight if possible. Let's see if we can achieve that. I don't really have any ERS to work with here. Through turn 2. Traction down. Do we have enough to get by here? Don't think I do. About to run out of ERS, looks like. Going to try a similar move to the Leclerc one. Oh boy. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Sainz is going to get a cheap pit stop. Okay, so we're going to be P2 on hard tyres. Okay, this is interesting, this one. We'll see how this goes. But another safety car. Okay, Sainz should pit this lap. And that will give us P2. There you go. Now, it's a good thing Russell pit on the last lap because he'll probably gain, actually. Gasly pits as well. So we're going to have Bottas behind us again for company. So Russell should gain, actually, from a couple of the two-stoppers, it looks like. He was running in P1 for a little while, actually. So he was having a good race. So I'm hopeful George might be able to actually get some points today. Both Red Bulls behind us. But there we go. We're back onto the queue and behind Hamilton and the safety car. Okay, this is it then. Safety car is coming in this lap. We're going to get 9 full racing laps to the finish. Timing of this restart is going to be so key. Going to try and get some last minute tyre warm up on the go for these. Try and get hard tyres nicely up to 10. Let's get ready for the restart then. Let's see when Hamilton bolts. Overtake engaged. Ready to go. And away we go. Look at the speed on the restart here. We're going to challenge straight away. Around the outside of Hamilton into turn 1. Trying to get by, didn't quite work. And Bottas is on the challenge. Going to leave plenty of room on the inside, just in case. Alright, let's push, push, push. Need to get back on it there. That move didn't work out. Hamilton stays in the lead. DRS enabled on this lap, and I've done just enough to push Bottas out of DRS range. Hamilton 1.9 up the road. Looks like he's probably going to win the race, to be honest. I don't have enough pace to keep up with him, but for now, we've just kept Bottas at range. Hopefully Verstappen can cause some trouble, and that will help really take the pressure off from behind, hopefully. Okay, Bottas has just crept back within DRS range. I don't have any ERS left now. I've given it everything I've got, so you can see the delta is rapidly closing in. I don't have nothing to respond with. I think I'm going to let Bottas go, to be honest. I think it's a much better option if I follow him rather than he follow me and I try and stay ahead. I'm going to let him go, and fingers crossed, I'm going to stick with him. I'll charge some ERS and I'll try and push back and try and get him on the last lap, but we'll see how it goes. I'm pushing so hard here to try and stay within a second of Bottas. He's actually pushing, and I'm just trying to stay within a second, but keeping just enough ERS on side for the last lap. I'm hoping he runs out, you know, because he's pushing at an incredible pace right now. We're even going to hit a personal best as Hamilton sets a new fastest lap, and there you go, the Mercedes cars stretching their legs a little bit. Meanwhile, Albon has passed Verstappen, which is interesting for the championship, of course. Verstappen, the championship leader. That's going to really open things up here. The last lap, let's see if we can try and stay on the back of Bottas by the end of the lap. I feel like I don't have enough pace. Seems like Bottas has plenty of ERS to go and burn, so it's going to be tough. Yeah, it's not going to happen. The Mercedes is too fast. Bottas has too much endless power. He just runs away from me everywhere. So, yeah, it's going to be a P3, but still, it's going to be a podium, which, you know, I'll happily take. That wasn't in my plans. So, here we go then. Through the final few corners, we're going to just burn up the rest of the fuel and the ERS, just give it basically everything running up to the line. You can see the tyre wear. We're going to end with 63 right rear, so we just about made it. The safety car actually helped us, but there we go. Hamilton wins, Bottas second, and we come home on the podium again.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
Well, there we go then, guys. That is it for the race at Baku, and we finish in third place behind both Mercedes, who get a 1-2 finish. Albon P4, and Sainz got Verstappen on the last lap, so Verstappen lost yet another place, of course, and he was the championship leader. Sergio Perez P7 for the Aston Martin Racing Point team ahead of Pierre Gasly. George Russell scores points in P9, which is great. I believe he was P7 on the safety car restart, so he did miss out a little bit, but fair enough. And Ocon P10. Missing out on the points, we have Stroll, Leclerc, Kvyat, Ricciardo, Vettel, Norris, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Magnussen and Matsushita out of the race here today. We look at the standings, and the gap at the top has been cut to 6 points between Lewis and Max. We are 21 points behind, so we cut the gap down as well, and Bottas of course still in the mix also. So the top four, it's a four-way scrap for the championship as it stands right now. Albon P5 and Russell scoring a couple of points today. His first points of the season. He moves to P16, doesn't actually overtake anybody, but still gets off the bottom of the table. We then look at the constructors, and we remain in third place. We're chilling there now. The gap to McLaren has increased, and to AlphaTauri as well. Mercedes retake the lead over Red Bull, 22 points clear, and overall a good day at the office for the Black Arrows. But we're going to take third in both championships and move on to the next race. So let's jump into the menu and put some more upgrades onto the car. Now, just the 3 days until the next race in Canada, we have pretty much 2,000 R&D points. Now, I don't think we have any upgrades in the works, so Canada will be the first race of the season in which we haven't brought an upgrade. Having said that though, we just came from a 111, so I can't complain too much now. Aerodynamics wise, we're going to go ahead and do some work on there, so we are going to go ahead and get this minor front downforce upgrade onto the car, and that will arrive before the next race. And also we've got 800 points left over. Can I afford one more chassis one? No, I can't. What about maybe an engine upgrade? Heading into some power circuits, maybe it might be worth an engine upgrade or two. You know what, I think I might actually go for one, but I'm going to go for an ERS one this time. We'll get on the car, and to be fair, I need to start looking at the durability. You know, we are slacking, and we are having issues. You know, there's no other way around it. We're not going to make it on the current allocation of engine components, so we will have to take a penalty at some point. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But for now, as you can see, bottom of the aerodynamics, but hopefully with this upgrade we should draw level with Alfa Romeo. Chassis wise, we're chilling second from bottom, and engine, we're staying on top with another engine upgrade for the ERS. So there you go, there's your kind of lowdown, and we can move ahead to the Canadian Grand Prix. And yeah guys, I'll be seeing you next time for the next episode at the Circuit de Villeneuve. Until then, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, then feel free to leave a like. Let's try and smash over 1,000 likes on today's episode. Subscribe for more daily F1 content, as we're on the way to 60,000 subs, guys. So any help would be massively appreciated. As always, a big thank you to the members of the channel for supporting the content, and check out 2 videos on screen if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you guys next time for some more content. Until then, take care, and it's goodbye from me.